It is truly is life-threatening. It will spell the end of the law firm. Perfect. Mission accomplished. Someone get George Bush. You can't pass a criminal law after somebody did something. That's ex post facto. And you can't pass a criminal law that criminalizes a group of people.
I have to speak of inflation. I love these subjects. What's with these subjects?
Democrat lawyers are freaking out, even admitting in court that if the judge doesn't stop Trump's executive order from going into effect, their firm might be decimated. This, of course, is a case about Perkins Coie, Mark Elias's former law firm, when he was there working to stop Trump on behalf of the Hillary Clinton campaign. And this guy, of course, is highly invested in these types of lawsuits and was responsible for a lot of other lawsuits with the Democracy Docket, the Elias Law Group, back in 2020 when he was suing all over COVID changes. But they were suing Trump, and we saw the lawsuit filed yesterday from Perkins Coie. Actually, William and Connolly was the law firm they hired to represent them. But Perkins Coie lost access to government contracts. Their contracts were canceled, lost access to security clearances that were delivered to them based on them being trustworthy and reliable security partners, and said that they can't access buildings and other things, right? So it was a big hit to them. They sued Judge Beryl Howell, one of the most corrupt judges in Washington, D.C., the same judge who allowed Trump's attorney-client privilege to be breached, is the judge who got this case. And they were in court today. We got two excerpts being provided to us today, one from Kyle Cheney, one from Anna Bauer, both of them listening in to the court proceedings, reporting as follows. Judge Howell has taken the bench, emergency lawsuit, Perkins Coie suing Trump to get their access turned back on. Chad Mizell is the chief of staff to Attorney General Pam Bondi. She's at the counsel table for the government. She's speaking for the Trump DOJ. Dane Butt Swinkass is the lawyer representing Perkins Coie. Butt Swinkass is his name. Dane says, Your Honor, we're just here and we had no idea Trump was going to do this. We got totally blindsided. And so we need due process, right? Like if you give somebody a benefit, you can't remove that benefit without some process because that might leave them in a worse position than before, is the thesis. They say, look at this, 25% of the firm's revenue comes from clients with government contracts. Trump's order pushes agencies to terminate those contracts. And this law firm was reprehensible, in my opinion, for what they did with Mark Elias, Michael Sussman. They represented, and I believe, I could be mistaken about this, but had representation relationships with Bill Clinton, Mike Pence, against Trump. So they are not trustworthy or reliable. So why would the Trump administration do business with them? They wouldn't. Contracts are canceled. 25% cut, gone. Here's what one of their lawyers said at the hearing. Your Honor, Perkins Coie lawyers, they say Trump's order is, quote, like a tsunami waiting to hit the firm. It is truly is life-threatening. It will spell the end of the law firm. Perfect. Mission accomplished. Someone get George Bush. Yeah, that's great. Why should they be in existence if they're responsible for working with guys like Mark Elias, who were responsible for trying to rig the entire election in 2016 and again in 2020 when they were successful? Mizell for the Trump DOJ says, Your Honor, this is ridiculous, okay? They're not entitled to endless contracts with the government. The President of the United States is authorized under the Constitution to find that there are certain individuals or certain companies that are not trustworthy with the nation's secrets. We don't have to do business with them. Trump views this company, he says, if they cannot be trusted with national security secrets, you can't review that. That's not your decision to make, Judge. Howell says, but I hate Trump, though, the judge. I'm skeptical about the sweeping breadth of this order. You know, it applies to thousands of people who had nothing even to do with the Steele dossier at all. And that's what the heart of this, like Trump's mad about the fake Steele dossier and the fake Russia collusion hoax from the first time. And it's too broad. Howell, this corrupt judge, says, it sends little chills down my spine. Perfect. That's great news. That Trump is claiming power to unilaterally label someone a threat, that's what we elected him to do, and bar them from all interactions, contracts, or access to the government. It's not like it's access to voluntary relationships, right? Like if they have criminal defense lawyers, Trump is not saying they can't file a notice of appearance on behalf of a criminal defendant and represent that person as a private party. It's just saying you don't get to use the government buildings or you don't get any benefits, right? You don't get special access to our systems in the representation of that person. That's all. You had a good relationship with you. We thought we could trust you. Turns out you're corrupt hacks. And so now we can't trust you. So a little bit of awesome updates there, right? These lawyers are freaked. It's like a tsunami waiting to hit the firm. It truly is life-threatening. Like, what does that even mean? Like, attorneys are going to jump out of buildings or off themselves or something? It's just you just go get a job somewhere else. It's not going to kill you to not have a government contract. Why are they all so dramatic everywhere we turn? Everybody's going to die immediately because the government canceled their contracts. Very dramatic and pathetic. Anna Bauer also was reporting on this. Said, Judge Howell presiding over this, Perkins Coie, well-known law firm, says counsel for Perkins wrapped up after addressing questions from Howell about how the EO could harm the firm and the ability to practice law. Dane Butt Winkass, maybe different spelling, but Stinkass or Swinkass, I don't know what the first one said the national security concerns in the EO were a pretext. Oh, and we can actually hear that hearing? They posted it? It's legal philosophy day in district court, she says. Judge Howell asked whether the EO is an unconstitutional bill of attainder, which would be a legislative act, right, that punishes somebody. Like, you can't pass a criminal law after somebody did something. That's ex post facto. And you can't pass a criminal law that criminalizes a group of people, right? That is a bill of attainder. You can make the law illegal. You can write the law, then the executive branch can enforce the law, and the judiciary can hear the case. But Congress cannot just criminalize a group of people. How is Trump's order any different than that? It's not, Your Honor. It's not a bill of attainder. Congress didn't pass it. It's a contract that was canceled by Trump pursuant to his power. Howell continued, well, it sends chills down my spine to think he can issue an executive order like that. Well, yeah, there's a lot more coming on that one, Judge. But Winkus is back, says that's a different constitution from the one I'm familiar with, while gesturing towards Mizell. Hilarious. And the judge grants the TRO, right? Says, breaking, Judge Howell indicates she will grant a TRO to block portions of Trump's executive order targeting the law firm that Trump targeted, Perkins Coie, and we'll see what that final order looks like. But Law Dork also said the same thing. The restraining order is going to block enforcement of sections 1, 3, and 5. Sections 2 and 4 were not included in the TRO. And Law Dork is reporting, Chris Geidner says that Perkins Coie is likely to succeed on the First Amendment arguments, saying it's retaliatory. This is all ridiculous. Calling it viewpoint discrimination. She says SCOTUS disfavors viewpoint discrimination. It's a canceled contract. They shouldn't even be suing in this court. The order is neither narrowly tailored, Howell finds, nor does it advance a compelling interest. It's not a broad law or policy that's impacting a huge portion of the country. It's just a canceled contract. National security is insufficient. So Trump is forced by Judge Beryl Howell, who's a Democrat super judge, to engage in this contract. Trump will obviously appeal this, and we can't wait to see where that goes. But point of all this is that they are freaked out, man. Freaked to the highest degree, saying, quote, this is like a tsunami waiting to hit the firm. It is life-threatening. It will spell the end of the law firm. Maybe they shouldn't have been engaged in corrupt prosecutions of election rigging by trying to create the Russia collusion hoax and by trying to change the election rules in 2024 with guys like Mark Elias. This is great news. We're happy about it, and we're going to be here continuing to follow it. Now, while all of this is happening there, while their lawyers are saying this is life-threatening, meanwhile, Trump is in there talking about J.D. Vance's socks.
I have to speak of inflation. I love these socks. What's with these socks? President Trump. I'm trying to stay focused, but I'm very impressed with the VP's.
All right, you can see little shamrocks down there on J.D. Vance's socks. And there was more from Trump saying, look, all of this, the Democrats, these law firms suing all of these people, if they would have just played fair and not had Mark Elias and Michael Sussman do what they did with Michael Steele and Fusion GPS, they wouldn't be in this predicament. Lots of other law firms didn't act like that, and they're not facing these consequences because they didn't drop below the standard of trust. Got to stay in the circle of trust. Here was Trump explaining Democrats have lost it.
The Democrats have no clue. You saw that the other night during the speech. 2 young women were slaughtered by illegal aliens. 1 young man has very serious cancer and many other problems. We look at the people up there. They all had difficulty, very serious difficulty. But when we're talking about 2 young girls, beautiful young girls, Lake and Riley, you know, the whole story that evening was a disaster for the Democrats, in my opinion. And I would mention, and I'd see 2 mothers that were inconsolable as they stood, crying. Their daughters have been absolutely just destroyed, killed, viciously killed. And And the young man who loves the police departments, he had cancer and has cancer, very bad cancer. There wasn't, from people sitting there, Democrats, there wasn't a hand clap. Nobody stood. They were just stone-faced. These people are sick. There's something wrong with them.
True.
There was no standing for anybody. The only thing they liked is when they heard about the death taking place with Ukraine. They were happy about that. Well, Pocahontas was very happy. She's the one that was clapped. That's why I looked at her. I said, oh, it's Pocahontas. These people are sick. They don't know what's happening in the real world. The Democrats have to get their act together. And if they don't vote, then what you're going to do is you're going to have taxes that are going to go through the roof. You're going to have a very bad time. You're going to have some very bad things happen. And people are going to blame the Democrats.
They will. And the Democrats are not learning their lesson. They just keep doubling down. Trump is Hitler. Trump is Adolf. Trump loves Putin, all the things. Meanwhile, they're not offering any solutions other than turn our money back on. Let the grift continue. And that is obviously not going to happen. So President Trump has the lawyers free. Perkins Coie, just one of them. We'll see which others get caught in the ruckus as well.